give it a second, because I low-key changed the time, so I'm gonna, like, you know what, fuck it, I don't need to give it a second. We can just start. Okay, so we're gonna be reacting to the part 2, the second video of the feminists versus anti-feminist woman. We already did a part 1 on that. I'm with my friend Haji, and we're gonna be reacting to it. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started so we can get through this. I don't think that we're gonna watch all 45 minutes, because I did skim through the video, and yeah, towards the end they all just start screaming at each other, so we're probably gonna stop around like maybe 30 minutes. I don't know, we'll see. But okay, let's start.
Put here to protect you.
Yeah, but does your man make enough money so that you don't have to work? This is my thing. These are, if we're talking about family units, these are 2 people. They get to decide what happens in their unit. And reality is some men are not going to be able to provide all that they can. Talk about pressure. I feel like feminism was good for men because it kind of relieved them of a little bit of pressure.
It lifted everybody up.
Well, yeah, but
really
it's made men so much more depressed than ever. It's made them weaker.
I think they just don't like the fact that now they see, oh, women can be as good as us, because now that we're allowed to have all these rights, we're graduating from college more than they are now.
Why do you have to be?
Because we live in their world.
This conversation is often reduced to labels. In this episode of The Bridge, feminist and anti-feminist women sit face to face to explore where their beliefs about womanhood, equality, and freedom align, and where they don't. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Daff. Welcome to The Bridge. Only women should make laws about women's bodies. No.
That has to be rage bait, bro.
Not sure. Okay. You haven't spoken much. Go ahead.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that if we want women to be able to vote on things like the draft, which affects men, which I don't think should exist, then I think that, you know, it's not a per se men's or women's issue. It's a human rights issue. It's an equality issue. I think that conversations about like who should be able to vote on abortion or something like that is like, I think a lot of people on my side fail to see that there is a genuine concern with people who are pro-life, because they do believe that the fetus is valuable, that it's similar to a baby. And I think if you have a serious issue like that, then I think all people should be able to vote on that. I don't know why it would be exclusive to like women particularly.
Yeah, what?
Before she finishes, what's your stance? I think it's obviously ridiculous. I think it's like identity politics.
That only women should make laws about women's bodies?
Yeah.
My position on this is, yeah, I don't think you need to be a particular gender. I don't think you need to be a particular race or identity or whatever it may be to identify truth, right? So like if we determine somehow, like we come to a consensus that it's morally good or bad to have an abortion, right? Truth is truth. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. So that's my position on it.
Yeah, exactly. I really wonder if any of the feminists are gonna disagree, but I guess we'll see. I think kind of a rage bait question, but we'll see.
I'm going to say something controversial, but I think that men should step in a little bit more when it comes to laws, even more now, because like they were saying, like women are emotionally led. That's what I believe. I believe, like right
laugh.
there.
I can laugh.
Well, it's just like
More
it's
is
just
crazy,
like so
though.
many
That's wild.
reactions
What the hell?
constantly. Yeah, it's emotions. Like men feel their emotions, but they can also conduct themselves. At least when I'm in rooms with them. Yeah, but I will agree with the violence, right? But I also say that women, they're making decisions on. I'll even go away from the abortion topic. Lip fillers. We see women from the media. They're getting injections everywhere. BBLs. They're putting their life on the line to get BBLs because that's the, you know, the propaganda or whatever they're putting out there. And so I just think that men should step in a little bit more to protect us. Like, yeah, you can make the decision to go out there and alter your whole body, but at the end of the day, those women are putting their life on the line to do that. So that's why I say I think our men should actually step in more when they see that we're destroying ourselves, like in that sense. And that's just kind of one example I want to give.
Maggie, you made a face.
Oh, I made a face because I was talking earlier. I do agree
You should let people fail fantastically if they want to. Sometimes people have to hit rock bottom, and I say let them. And I think that's how some people have to learn, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. The reason I'm saying women should have more of a say on our bodies than men is just, if we look at history, men have had the only say on our bodies. They used to perform like gynecological operations on us in a room, a theater they called it, with just men. And like, can you imagine being a woman, going under procedure, you're strapped to a table, and there's just a theater of men, and there's not a single woman in there dictating whether or not this is a good thing that should be happening. Like, we didn't have a say. We should have a say. We haven't had a say. We should. We haven't.
I think, so one of the things that I take kind of with this romanticization of the past is, if you look between the 1950s and now, almost every single marker of flourishing is up as women entered the workplace, as women entered policymaking. It turns out that all Western liberal democracies have given more agency to women, and they have consistently outperformed other countries that don't do this. And there's a reason for this, right? Which is that we're always better together. We're always better together. This idea that men are more logical than women, they just like, the reality is like the emotional landscape is like way more complicated than that. And good.
Yeah, just to comment on that real quick, like I hate this idea that, that like what she was saying, the girl in the, I guess, blue and white dress, her saying that we should involve men more in policy making because, you know, essentially they're more logical. I don't know where people get this idea. Like, just because men don't exhibit the same kinds of emotion as women and in the same like capacity or in the same way, whatever it may be, they don't express themselves the same, doesn't mean that men are less logical. Both men and women are human beings. We have emotional processing centers within our brain. We are built to be emotional. We are built to be social. This, like, both men and women are social and they are emotional. They might express themselves in different ways. They might suppress their emotions more because of how they've been socialized, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily more logical, right? Both men and women can arrive at truth. Your gender, your race, whatever it may be, does not determine truth, right? Like, but anyways.
Good, wise decisions usually include emotions anyways, right? So men being less emotional would be bad for wisdom. And I don't think that men are less emotional. I think they're the same. And so every marker of flourishing has improved. I guess, what would your rebut to that?
I think that they feel emotions. I just think what I've noticed is that they're not so emotionally reactive, unless if we look at the studies of like men that are in prison, they usually come from single mothers, from what I've seen.
I actually don't think there should be any laws on women's bodies. I think the only people who should be making decisions about what medical procedures a woman is receiving is herself, because she is an adult and can make choices for herself, and with her doctor, because those are the only people who should be making decisions when it comes to women's bodies. I don't trust men to take a list and go to the grocery store and execute that successfully. I certainly don't trust them to put laws on my body and execute that successfully. Women are dying in Texas because of laws on their body. A woman was strapped to a life support machine where a baby was forced to be made when she was only 6 weeks pregnant, and the baby is now severely disabled, and that was a law by man. I don't think that men should be making decisions. If they can't find the clitoris on image, I don't care what they think about my uterus, okay? Like, that's my opinion. No more laws on women's bodies, period. Women are adults. They can make the right healthcare decisions for themselves, along with their doctor, who is also in the right place to make healthcare decisions. Should lawmakers be making healthcare decisions at all? Hope not. Hope not. I don't really care what Mike Johnson has to say about my baby hole. So that's how I feel about that.
If you don't have them making any laws towards women and their bodies, then that means that you wouldn't have a doctor that could lawfully give you an abortion, right? So that means, because you're not, the baby just doesn't naturally die. If we put no laws on the book, then they wouldn't be able to give you an abortion.
If we didn't put laws on abortion, they could just perform an abortion. Like, that's the reality.
But what if the doctor doesn't want to perform the abortion? What if he doesn't believe?
What does that have to do with law? That has to do with their choice.
Literally, she's so right. What does that have to do with law? Doctors are allowed to have medical opinions, right? They can say, I want to take this route when it comes to something, and they can say, I don't want to take this route, right? Doctors aren't required in every case to perform some kind of surgery or some kind of procedure or whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a particular way, right? Like, doctors are allowed to have medical opinions, and they can go about treating something or giving you, you know, what you desire, based off of their own opinion and what they believe is best. So if you have a doctor who's like, you know, I don't do abortions, they don't have to do abortions.
If there are no laws on the book, then that means that nothing can be done about it.
Well, that's not true, because there will still be doctors who perform that procedure. Like, I see the point that you're trying to make is, oh, if there's not a law in the book. These laws are not about expanding access to abortion. These laws are about diminishing access to women's health care, which has resulted in the actual very real deaths of women across the United States, or near-death experiences of women all across the United States. Like, there's not some law on the book that's somewhere that's like, you get to have an abortion now because it's here.
You guys always talk about, like, the smaller cases. It's not
Well,
most
those smaller
cases.
cases matter, because anybody dying is too many people dying.
But what about the man that seed you are carrying? Do he have a say? Do he have to pay for your child now that you have a baby? So he has no say.
I'm curious, Haji, what do you think about, like, people making the argument that, like, men should have the choice to determine whether or not they want to pay?
I think that it may be like 50% of the man's DNA, 50% of the human's DNA, but it's like 100% in the mother's body. So since I believe that you should not be able to take the resources from a mother's body forcefully, I think it's fully the mother's choice, because it's 100% in her body, right? The man isn't getting affected by the pregnancy. So I don't really care if it's like the man's DNA or whatever, because it's in the mother's body. So I think she should have the decision on her own. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I was asking about, like, child support, not abortion.
Oh, child support.
Yeah, like when people say, like, yeah, like, that's not something I've really thought about either, but, like, intuitively I'm inclined to say, I mean, it's not necessarily the case that, I feel like it's far different when the child is actually here in comparison to, you know, the child imposing upon someone's bodily autonomy and their personhood, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know that I have a position on that. I want to say that, you know, it is technically his choice. It's within his right to say, I don't want to pay. So legally, I guess that's a different conversation. Whether or not we should legally enforce it, I don't know about that, but I do think you ought to take care of the child once it's here. Like, even if I like happen to give birth, right, to a child that I don't want, I still think it ought to be the case that I take care of that child.
Yeah, I'll probably take like a utilitarian type of view there. I think by case basis, you're just trying to make sure that the child is going to be the happiest as possible, or like taken care of to the highest as possible. I mean, like, CPS does exist, right? You can't just like, right? You can't just be negligent when it comes to your child. You have to take care of it. Now, whether that restriction should be under the father if he decides to leave, I think probably yeah. Like in most cases, probably yeah. Um, yeah. What I guess if the mother has enough on her own, obviously he doesn't have to. But intuitively, right now, I don't think there's one rule that fits all cases, but on case by case basis. But I think most of this cases would say that the father probably should. But that's just my intuition right now. I haven't thought it through, so.
Yeah, same.
Say.
Well, he does have a say with his body. It's at ejaculation. I'm glad we had that conversation.
So,
my body, my choice, a uterus, his body, his choice, ejaculation.
So you have a choice to decide that, okay, I don't want to keep this baby.
Right, because that's my body choice.
But he has no choice in that.
No, his body choice was ejaculation.
Okay, but
yeah,
you
our
have
bodies
a
work
choice,
differently,
but,
so
okay,
I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Once he ejaculates, can he not pay for that child? If he has a choice, right?
Well, he didn't make a body choice that was appropriate for him, is what I'm hearing here.
But you're
telling me his body choice, he doesn't agree with that now.
You have a half of a human being that belongs to him in your body. So,
yeah,
like,
but he
where's
had a
his
choice at
rights in that?
ejaculation,
So it's
didn't
all
he?
about me. That's
Did
what
he
I
have
hear.
a body choice at ejaculation?
Did he have a body choice? You let him
No, did he have a body choice at ejaculation?
You opened
Oh, you're
your
blaming the woman
legs.
for ejaculation?
Yes.
She doesn't even have a dick.
You opened
She
your
doesn't even
legs.
have one.
Who grants
Wait,
access
like-
to sex?
Like, if the father can leave, like how far does that go? Can you live at like any age when the child's like pregnant, like in the mother's stomach, or like at 1 year old, 2 years old? Like, when does it stop? Like, can they just leave at any moment? Like if the logic is saying that, it's like the dad wouldn't have to pay anything. That's my concern, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it
yeah.
like a slippery slope?
I don't really know. I don't know. This is something I have to think about more. Like, I don't really care when when I'm having a conversation about abortion. Like, I feel like child support is like the last thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah, but these people would just be against. They want to abolish CPS completely, right? Because that's what Child Protective Services is when you're being negligent towards your child, they come and take your child and whatever, and they give whatever repercussions you're supposed to get. But if they're saying that the father just does not have to pay, then like that's like a super slippery slope. Like, where does it stop? Where's the line? Can they just like at any day
yeah,
just walk up and go? Like, yeah, okay.
Women do.
Oh,
Not
I'm
men.
sorry, you're blaming
But you'll
women
be like,
entirely.
they're raping me.
This is why
then.
I can't have a conversation because I just.
What the fuck was that? They're raping me? What the hell?
Oh,
Not
I'm
men.
sorry,
This
you're
is
blaming
so
women
messy.
entirely.
What the moderator needs to stop
This is why I
in.
can't
Needs to
have a
step in.
conversation.
Did you hear that?
Oh,
Not
I'm
men.
sorry, you're blaming
But you'll be
women
like,
entirely.
they're raping me.
This is
then.
why I can't have a conversation.
Is she okay? Is this girl okay?
The moderator needs to lock in, twin. I don't know what the moderator. You're
Dude,
just looking
I
there,
was
you're just standing
I was
there
looking
sitting
on the comments and like the last post, and they were like, the moderator is not like. Oh yeah, I
there. Yeah,
commented
they're
that
just
when I
there.
was skimming it.
They just read the prompts. They're not even moderating. Like what?
Have a conversation because I just told you that both men and women have a body choice because our biology is different. I let you know that men have a body choice. You agreed that ejaculation is a body choice that is had by men, and I said, great, that's their choice. And you went, well, then it's women's fault for letting them finish inside.
That was a body choice, and
Okay,
then
so
he made a body choice. So now we have to decide what we do after.
I don't know if this is also what you're asking. So if everyone made their body choices and the baby is here, are you saying then the man should have responsibility for that child or should not?
I'm saying that if she wants to get an abortion, means she wants to keep a baby and a man doesn't, then he should have the right to say, no, I'm not paying for it.
Once the baby comes.
Yes, he should have that right then. If we're talking about equality, why do he have to pay for your body choice?
Well, his body choice was ejaculation. So we each had a body choice.
But you opened your legs. That was your body choice. You said yes.
Question. I just have one question for you though. Like, so are you? Because I don't know where you stand on Roe v. Wade. Like, do you think we should ban it?
I think that
Because if you allow a man to say, I don't want to pay for it, then you're really forcing women into slavery here. Like, you're going to be forcing women to be single moms.
I believe in the 3 exceptions. I think that life of the mother, obviously, rape, incest. But obviously, I don't believe that you should kill a baby. You shouldn't kill a baby, no.
Okay. But you said, like, oh, but if a man doesn't want to be a part
And by
of
the
it,
way,
he should.
people that hold that objections are so strange. Like, why do you have a like if you believe it's like a human life, right, or like they have person or whatever from conception, why does the way that they conceived, why does that affect the value of the child? Doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't really know the logic there. I'd be curious to hear what they have to say to that. I hope someone brings up objection.
I'm using your logic.
That's not our logic. My logic was using your body choice.
But if you're going to say that you're going to have a baby that is a part of somebody else that's inside of your body, another part of another person is inside of you, then they should have a say.
Do you feel like there is no wrong reason to get an abortion?
I've seen so I have 11 siblings. I'm the oldest daughter. I've seen plenty of pregnancies. I've seen my mom go through miscarriages, and I think that probably affects the way that I view like childbirth. But I think as long as a woman wants to get an abortion and it's within a reasonable time, everybody's going to have a different opinion of what the reasonable time is. I don't think it's second trimester. I don't think it's third trimester. But like before a pregnancy comes to term, go for it. But if it's like getting to the point where you can see like, it's such a hard topic. But I think elective abortions are fine before a certain time.
Right.
Yeah.
To the financial abortion, I'm actually okay with that. To this question specifically, for me, personhood seemed to be conferred around 12 to 15 weeks. So I would want the same rights for men and women. Yes, personhood. Because the thing we're valuing here.
Oh my god, I love Kyla, bro. She's so nice. Like, her rhetoric is so good. She's like so nice, and then like simultaneously, like she kind of slips in like these kind of how do I say this, like jabs.
Well, when you say human life, what you mean is another human being that we equally value. And the reality is that, like, at a certain point, this is why I can ask you guys this question. You've got a burning building, 2 rooms, 1,000 zygotes in one room, just recently fertilized eggs, and a baby in the other. Who are you picking? Who are you saving?
But that's like not relevant.
Who are you saving? When you want to say that they are both
Are they inside of a woman's body?
No, there's zygotes that once you put them inside a woman's body, they will be fertilized. Yep. It's human life if you believe in life.
One person talk at a time. It's too confusing.
Yeah, I'll walk this through. Who are you picking? The baby,
zygotes are not fertilized.
they are fertilized. Zygotes are always fertilized.
But what I'm saying is your question has nothing to do with...
It does.
No, it really does.
Then why
It
wouldn't
does.
you answer it?
And aren't you
It
a
would be
Christian?
so easy. Yeah.
So why don't you believe that that's a human life?
Because
Because
life at
begins-
conception isn't even biblically established. Even the Pope would tell you this. There's no idea of when ensoulment begins. So if you want to have a theological conversation, we can go there, baby. But the issue is that when you talk about
Oh my God, she's eating her up.
personhood, we are talking about when we confer moral value to another being. And I believe it's around 12 to 15 weeks because I think secular people value consciousness, and I think consciousness is the best representation of ensoulment. That's why I value it there. But legally, I'm for the complete decriminalization, because what we see in abortion is that, first of all, no woman is just like being like, I've carried this for 6 months, man, I just want to kill it. Almost every single time it is a absolute tragedy, and I'm not barring her from care. What we see in decriminalized states versus criminalized states, mothers die more, babies die more, children go into poverty, and children go into foster care. An 11% increase in Texas when they started banning abortions into foster care, which is just a tragedy. Mother deaths increased in Texas by 6% with this. Baby deaths increased by 12%. So when I'm talking about decriminalization, I'm for it all because I want mothers and babies to live. But when we're talking about a moral question, which is what you're interested in, when does ensoulment begin?
I would like to disagree with what you said about every time a woman has an abortion, it's some type of tragic
I said
decision.
after 6 months. Just
I like how they're focusing on anything but what is relevant, like the fact that, like, okay, when does ensoulment begin? Because the main contention on this side, or at least like the anti-feminist side, seems to be one that's religious, right? They're adhering to some kind of religious prescription, but where are you getting this idea that ensoulment begins at conception? I don't know too much about Christianity. I don't study it that much. I don't really look that much into it. But I don't think that they have... Do they have a clear, like... I'm not sure.
There's like verses saying that like God created you before you were in the womb and stuff like that, but I don't know the specifics, obviously.
Yeah, but like Islamically, we also believe that, like... Sorry guys, I'm still sick. Islamically, we still believe that, what's it called? That our souls were created before we were put on this earth, right? But ensoulment is a different concept. It's not necessarily talking about... So if that's what people refer to when they're talking about ensoulment, I think that's pretty stupid, because ensoulment isn't asking when the soul was created, it's asking when it's blown into the body or put into the body.
Yeah, no, but they believe that like soul like animates the body, so as soon as you're like the body's like moving, or again, like I'm not good at Christianity, I don't know what I'm talking about actually. What I just said. I don't want to try to guess and spew misinformation.
Okay.
But yeah, I think the majority Christian scholars disagree with Kyla, sorry. I'm so curious about what her argument is. Is it going to be like we don't know and therefore I'm going to use science, or I don't know.
At least for the people watching, in regards to my position, mine is something along the lines of, I believe that abortion is generally fine up until... I'm not entirely sure on this position. I'm still refining my position, and I'm open to changing it. But right now, my position is something along the lines of, I think abortion is fine up until about 8 to 15 weeks. One of those, but yeah. Just, I have a whole argument for it. I made a video on it, but I think I'm gonna probably write a Substack article on it later, so I'm not gonna get too much into that, because I don't want to spoil. But I need to look more into, or read more philosophical literature so that I can strengthen my position.
Just to clarify.
Okay, because what I have seen is that women are using abortion as birth control.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
What I have seen...
That's not even what the word birth control means.
Okay, if I may finish. The protests, abortion on demand, my body, my choice, do whatever you want to. My concern, again, as an older woman, when we are all gone, what is going to be left behind if we look at families and children as disposable? I say, why do we have to take the nuclear option as the first option? There's over 30-something forms of birth control for women. I don't know how many of them were created by women when we want to talk about laws. I'm sure there were men scientists that came up with these ways that we can prevent abortion by preventing getting pregnant if you don't want to. But I would just disagree. I think women are using it as, oh, well, not always. I'm sure there are reasons that are tragic. I've never had an abortion, thank God. I was able to deliver without issue. My husband and I planned for those children.
Do you want to know the best? Sorry, do you mind if I jump in?
Go ahead.
Do you want to know the best policy for reducing abortion and increasing childbirth? The best policy is making birth free and providing comprehensive welfare care for mothers and children. This is why
There's no such thing.
Nothing is free.
Sorry, when I say free, I mean universal health care.
Okay, hi loves, it's me again, Dr. Michelle Duff. We've really been enjoying producing these meaningful they have blessed me. The next prompt is, white women benefit the most from the feminine.
Wait, she just stopped it. I'm so confused. Why did they get angry at them saying universal healthcare is good for reducing... Well, okay, anyways.
Feminist movement.
I think they're just against all universal healthcare, probably. So I don't know.
Okay. Think of well.
Well, it's kind of intuitive. Like most people don't want to have a child for the reasons being, like, the biggest reasons that I hear amongst women are either A, it's going to be financially strenuous on them, and by extension of it being financially strenuous, that means they're going to shoulder more of the burden within the relationship, and so it's also going to be physically and emotionally strenuous. Or the second reason, or B, is that it's going to be, what was I going to say? Is that it's also going to be very difficult on them in terms of their health and their body and physically, like when it comes to actually giving birth and bearing that child. It's going to be strenuous on their body, and that's oftentimes because we don't have access to certain forms of medical care. Like, for example, midwives significantly reduce the risk of you tearing during during birth. Sorry guys, I'm so tired. I can't speak today, but they significantly reduce the risk of you tearing during birth. So imagine if we had some kind of form of universal health care, we would provide midwives to every mother giving birth, right? I think that would make people feel a lot more comfortable when it comes to the pain that is associated with birth, and then also the financial burden and the emotional and physical burden that is associated with birth.
Almost everyone agree, but then not quite. Okay, why don't you go ahead and share?
I don't think any woman benefits from feminism, but I do agree if we're playing into I don't know. I don't really like to, because I don't like feminism, I don't really like to even acknowledge any kind of a benefit or anything, because I just don't agree with it as an ideology.
What? So you're intentionally being disingenuous, even though there is potentially benefit in feminism, you don't want to acknowledge it because you don't like it. What the
Ideology, but there is that race element to it. So.
Do you think?
Mind you guys, to clarify from the last video, in case you didn't watch the last one, I don't have a position. I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to whether or not I am a feminist. Like I said before, it's not because I necessarily have an objection to feminism. It's just I haven't read enough literature. I don't feel confident in affirming something like feminism or a particular I guess modality or frame of feminism. And then also I just don't like to be an ideologue, and I feel like just from what I've seen of feminist literature is that it tends to be very ideological more than some kind of philosophical framework. Although I think it does have the possibility of being that, it more often leans on ideology and rhetoric. But then again, like I said, I'm agnostic because I haven't read enough literature, so perhaps there is literature out there that is more philosophical and logical than rhetorical.
Do you think being able to choose your career or wear pants or drive or vote or anything like that is something that feminism has brought about, or what do you think brought that about?
Well, I just don't. If I had to choose my womanhood or my motherhood over material gain, I would choose my womanhood.
I just want an answer to the question, please.
No, I think it's materialistic.
But don't you have all of those things now?
That still does not answer my question. There's been a lot of non-answering questions here.
I don't think because you guys are going completely off the prompt. The prompt is white women benefit more.
Yeah, they do. We agree. Yes, they fucking do. But white women always come up before everyone else most of the time anyway. That's just the thing. It's still, sorry to bring up race, but white people in general. So if we're going to talk about women, yeah, did it benefit white women more? Of course it did. Because we still had to tackle the civil rights movement. Human rights.
I see why you fight for it.
So all of those movements are movements to get you to do things. It's not you thinking for yourself.
This movement was so that we could decide what we wanted to do.
Well, most of the stuff that you guys said you wanted, you have now. Now it's to the point where you
Because
have
of
allowed
feminism.
men, you
Because of
have
the women
literally
before
allowed
me.
you physically allowed men into your movement. It just contradicts the whole movement. When you allow
No, it doesn't. We're not against men.
transgender women are men.
Oh God, we're not going there.
Yeah, they're men.
Oh,
You guys
no.
allow them
Oh,
in the
no.
movement.
This is actually something me and Haji disagree on.
Oh, shit.
I think in general, movements that are about any group of people is always going to best serve the majority population within that group and also those who already have other privileges conferred intersexually in other areas, which is why white women are going to benefit the most from feminism, right? This is going to, if you look at class-oriented stuff, generally poor white people will benefit significantly more on certain measures than other groups of people, right? This is just generally the case, in part because of just numbers. There's just more of them in that group of people, right? And because of that, you're just going to get more outshiners and stuff like that. You're going to get people who benefit maximally from it. So this is mostly a population issue. Yeah, there's more white women. White women will disproportionately benefit from feminism. But I guess maybe I could answer Matrix about feminism doesn't confer any benefits because you don't like feminism. I think one of the issues, so one thing that happens on my tribe that I have a major issue with is we don't acknowledge any of the good things from the established institution, which they call patriarchy, that has benefited everyone, right? And I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Feminism just has given you a credit card. I don't know what else it could even, nothing else is attributable here, right? It just did give you the right to vote. Right? It did give you these choices. And I get you don't like feminism, but unfortunately, that's what is to blame for these things. You can dislike feminism and still appreciate what historical feminists have done.
No, I can do what I want. I can not like it, not contribute to it, not be a part of it,
Such a
not
troll,
have a credit
bro.
card,
What the
not
hell?
vote. I can do that.
I just meant to be, I guess
No,
I
I'm
meant to be
just-
intellectually
Okay.
She's saying
coherent. You
that-
have to, but it's fine if
Holy
you don't want.
shit.
What?
Like she's from in callous position. I don't know. She's like, okay, I'm not gonna have a credit card. I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna do that. It's like that's fine, but it's talking about the choice to vote or the choice to have a credit card, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I feel like that she's kind of just like a troll, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The lineup for the anti-feminist side is like, oof.
You don't want to. That's fine.
Should have thrown Pearl in there
I
as well.
think, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think what maybe these women feel is that maybe those things are important to you, but they're not important to them.
Right, but the thing is, the difference I think here between maybe it's confusing for you guys, but feminists, I don't want to tell you what to do with your life. I genuinely don't care what you do. If you want to have a baby, I want you to have it. Actually, if you want to have a baby, I want you to have a baby because those are the people who we want to have be parents, right? Like feminism is all about choice. If you want to be a trad wife, I want you to be that trad wife. I hope you find the man who can provide for you in this economy. That's all it is. It's just about having choice.
I actually disagree. I agree with the sentiment that like you should have the choice, right? You should have the freedom to do these things if you want to. Like I can't stop you, right? But do I believe you ought to do them? No. I'm actually, I don't know. I did talk about this. Yeah, I did talk about this in my article. Men are not wallets and women are not prizes. But there are higher goods and higher purposes that people should strive for beyond just building a family, right? You're fulfilling the psychological aspect of like community and family and so forth in your life, but you're not fulfilling that sense of individualism. And I think everyone needs that sense of individualism, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. Doesn't matter what you are, I don't care what you identify as. Everyone needs individualism and they also need community. And I think when you just prioritize community, you lose that sense of individualism, and then you don't become a good person, and you don't live the good life, or at least what we understand to be the good life philosophically, and you don't strive towards being virtuous. So that's why I don't really like that. Like you're kind of reducing people to these very capitalistic roles, but
choice. I'm not telling anyone how to live their life. I would never tell you guys what to do, but I feel from your point, you are telling us how to live lives. Like a lot of the time it comes off as you're wrong if you do this, you're bad if you do that, and I'm not going to tell you if you're right or wrong about your decisions for yourself. I'm not your mother. I don't know what's better for you, just like you guys aren't mine. So that's my only problem here. Feminism is just a way of, it's an equalizer, so we can all come up together.
I feel you. I guess, like, for me, like, the reason why I really opt out and I'm strongly against it is because I don't really hear you guys acknowledge any positive things like about motherhood, like at the forefront of the movement. Like I feel like a lot of the stories that are told in feminism or feminist theory and stuff, it's always like these terrible, tragic, sad stories. And like even the women that you reference, you know, as our feminist leaders, like they didn't live very beautiful, amazing, extravagant lives that any little girl would want to aspire to live. And so I feel like a lot of time, well, Mary Wollstonecraft, Susan B. Anthony, all of these feminists, they all had very tragic, sad, like traumatizing lives. And so even when they take like anecdotes like of other women's lives, it's always a highlight on like these terrible things. And it's like, why can't we teach women how to be happy, how to, you know, submit and enjoy that, how to appreciate what their body can do? Like, I don't understand why that is something that's shunned, because y'all's faces are turning. So that's what I'm trying to say is, like, why is it always, why are all the bad stories amplified? That's what I'm curious about, because that's not every woman's story. That's not every woman's experience.
No, you're right, it's
No good story comes from everything going right is a quote that I've heard that I think maybe might answer that. But with back to the prompt, we all agree feminism benefits white people, white women the most. How do we actually bring everybody else up? Is there any, like, people that disagree with feminism? Like, how do we bring everybody up?
I think we bring up our community by turning towards each other instead of against each other. And I think if you look at it as a balanced approach, I'm not going to deny the fact that women can work, we can vote, we can own, we can do all those things. But I think it is foolish to only look at that and not look at the harm that feminism has caused, especially minority communities. I'll speak as a Black woman. Black women get married at 1/4 the rate. And that is not helping our community because we're going against our men, and our communities are stronger.
What the fuck does this have to do with feminism?
Because we are better together. So I think when we promote healthy
She's probably
families,
gonna say that like most abortions happen like minority communities, obviously.
Yeah, but that's not the fault of feminism.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
I don't know
I
what
think it's like,
relevance this
kind of
has,
stupid,
but...
when we promote the nuclear family, when we promote husbands and wives, moms and dads, boys and girls, that is how we get better. Feminism is not going to make us better. Feminism is actually making our community worse.
I didn't know that feminism equals like not getting married at a higher rate. Is that what you guys think feminism is? Is it just don't marry?
I mean, it leads to not getting married because men just don't like masculinity. They don't like
So you think
women
if you're a feminist, you're masculine?
I mean, like you could just, you can take.
I respectfully, the most ironic part of this to me is like this entire side thinking they're the most feminine. I'm gonna be so frank right now. Like, the person who's giving the most quote unquote stereotypical feminine vibes on here is Kyla. That's the only person. Maybe I'll give it to the girl in like the white and blue dress, just because I think she's being very like patient, which I think is like associated with stereotypical femininity. But it's definitely Kyla, and she's a feminist.
Take a look at this row of how these women are dressed. They're dressed very feminine, all of them. And then look at you guys. And I'm not, you got your dress on. I'm not even, and this is not a dig at you guys. It's not a dig, but it's just to say that men are more attracted to that. You know?
Kidding? That is insulting. Yeah, men will put their
there's
in
like
what they can put
statistics
it.
around like who's more attractive, whether it's gonna be like conservative or liberal women and men. I forgot the results, but we should probably like look at that. I'm so curious about what the results would be.
I could definitely look it up real quick. I'm gonna say, who do people think is more attractive, liberal or conservative? Okay, let me pull this into the tab. Physical halo effect. Wait. We find that more attractive individuals are more likely to report high levels of political efficacy. I'm not asking about who's attractive. I'm asking about what people think is attractive.
Yeah, it's doing the opposite, saying like, oh, if you're attractive, how does that affect you?
Yeah.
I'm not interested. We'll look at it later, I guess. We'll find like a more.
I don't know. I think it's pretty stupid to say that political affiliation has nothing to do with who's more attractive.
And they won't
So the
stay
fact
with
that
them,
she's
but
no.
they will marry.
She just sat here and looked at all of us and said, "Oh, this is what men want."
I mean, ask them.
The reason that I said it benefits white women more, I don't think it benefits women at all. But if we go back to like Margaret Sanger starting Planned Parenthood and abortion, she was part of the eugenics movement. So she wanted to kill black babies. So that is
I
part
knew
of the
this was
feminist
going
movement
to
was to
bring
get
it up.
rid
Oh my god.
of black
Like
women's
she's technically
babies.
right, but like, yeah, she was
It's
like
just it's ironic coming
incredibly
from
racist
Savannah
person, but
Stone.
yeah, but like like Margaret thinks she's not here anymore. So like it doesn't matter. Like the start of the movement was bad. It was to target I guess like minority communities, but she's not here anymore, and Planned Parenthood has condemned it and moved forward from it. Like, it's like almost 60 years ago. So like it's like, oh, the United States, like it started and like they were like slavery, so now right, it's like, yeah, we moved on from it. Slavery has been abolished. It's like,
yeah, Planned Parenthood is also not like the organization that conceptualized abortions. Like abortions have existed throughout history. They have been performed throughout history. They've been performed in various countries beyond the U.S. and in various medical institutions beyond Planned Parenthood, right? So I just don't know why bring that up. Of course, it's like definitely an issue people should talk about, right? Like if that was a thing, but I don't think it's relevant to the conversation of like feminism
and the black population.
I think this actually speaks really well. I forget your name. I'm so
Maggie.
sorry. Maggie.
Yeah.
Maggie was saying this as well, and it's something I echoed, which is that there's a really big problem that happens in our tribes where we don't want to look at the bad things that's associated with them. And I would totally agree with that, right? I look at that and I'm like, I don't think that's great. I like Simone de Beauvoir for lots of reasons, but I don't love everything. I don't love everything that feminists do, right? When I say that I'm a feminist, it's because the ideology, which I would label as feminism, is for the promotion of femininity and like the advocacy and empowerment of women. I think that that's good. So look at the third wave of feminism, which you're probably gonna have an issue with. The third wave of feminism was a very white woman movement. It was mostly fixated on getting women into work and wasn't celebrating things that are associated more typically for women with femininity. I think that that's bad. But you look at the fourth wave movement of feminism, and that's corrected. That's why I like the fourth wave of feminism. So we can have bad actors, we can have bad ideas in feminism, and still identify with the idea if you choose to, right? And this is why I choose to. I don't stand by every feminist. I mean, we've disagreed on this side, right? We're heterogeneous necessarily. And yeah, I guess I'll let you rebut to that.
Well, our country was founded by white men who raped their slaves, but it doesn't mean that I'm not proud to be an American, just in the same way that I would say that I'm proud to be a feminist.
And the final prompt is, there is no shame in having a high body count.
I don't know if I can talk on this one.
No. Okay.
Well, I think that shame leads to repentance, and repentance leads to changed behavior. And so having a high body count, like, for example, I talk to people in my community, in the Christian community, and I speak with people, and women that do have high body counts, they tend to struggle with like BPD, borderline personality disorder,
Real quick, my position on this, I wouldn't say shame. No, I don't like the word shame. Though I do think shame is effective within society in getting people to do certain things. Because some people just, don't have the intellectual capacity to understand why you ought to do some things and ought not to do certain things, right? So you kind of just gotta shame them into it, But do I think we should shame for body count? But I don't think it's specific to women. I think, and I'm writing it, my next Substack article is actually going to be on this. This is going to be on sexual discipline. But I'm really big on sexual discipline for both men and women, and I think it's something that people should value a lot more. So when it comes to there's no shame in having a high body count, in terms of yourself, I think there should be a bit of shame. I think if you are exhibiting unrestrained impulses and behaviors within your sexual dynamics, I think that is something to sit back and be like, okay, maybe I should be a little bit ashamed of this. Maybe I should be ashamed of the fact that, I can't control myself, or I can't have meaningful and intentional sexual relationships. But I think what's considered a high body count is very subjective. I'm thinking high numbers, right? But anyways.
Their personality issues. Comparison. even struggling with being satisfied in the bedroom with their husbands because they had so many other sexual partners. So,
okay, the same thing applies to men. I hate when they bring this up, like the same way that it's quote unquote harder for women to pair bond when they have had more sexual encounters, the same thing applies with men as well. The issue is that we can't necessarily point to it being to the fact that they are having more sexual encounters, and that is what's causing them to have weaker relationships or a weaker desire to stay in their relationships or be happy within their relationship, whatever it may be. We can't point to the intercourse in itself or the relationships that they're having or the frequency of them. All we know is that there's a correlation, right? We typically observe that people who have higher body counts tend to have issues with pair bonding and long-term relationships and so forth. And that could be perhaps to the fact that these people just don't value deep relationships or long-term relationships, whatever it may be, or certain dynamics within their relationship. And that is why they also go on to have difficult relationships later on. It's not necessarily the fact that they have more sexual encounters. We can't prove that yet.
I do think that there should be shame. I think there should be shame if men are sleeping around. I will say that there's accountability for that too. That's not right. So, but this is like our Christian beliefs. So in my Christian beliefs are both of us should be waiting until marriage. So yeah.
Well, I want to address the statistics there because people with higher body counts do show higher satisfaction in relationships, specifically also like couples who have more sex over time experience happier sexual relationships like that. The other thing, I want to make sure that we're getting the causation right here. Women or people with BPD struggle with higher impulsive sexual behavior. It's not people who are more sexual struggle with BPD. I want to make sure we're not saying this thing is causing high sexual behavior is causing BPD. It just happens to be that this group of people, that's like saying that people who have hallucinations struggle with schizophrenia or whatever. We're okay, well, yeah, you're going to look at a population that has a high level of that and say, oh, well, they have high levels of this. Well, yeah, that's the population you're looking at. That's like saying also that men happen to be more suicidal and then saying oh, it's a thing with men. It is just a fact about being a male that makes you more suicidal, which is not true. You're getting the causation kind of mixed up. I want to make sure that's very clear.
I mean, I feel like I'm going to speak from a whole different type of language where I think that when you are laying down with someone, you're creating a soul tie. So I do think that will lead to some type of just spiritual bonding.
Do you have an argument that there's a spiritual, or is this just religious?
Yeah, it's just my religious beliefs, yeah.
Okay, there's no evidence. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Anyone else? I feel like we're looking at different statistics.
I don't really like that response. You don't need to have evidence. People are allowed to have their beliefs. This is my thing. I don't mind if someone has certain kinds of religious beliefs that they have no basis for, as long as they acknowledge yeah, I don't have an argument for it. This is just my belief, right? I don't take an issue with that. I think if you have the honesty to admit that, kudos to you. You can preach whatever you want to preach.
Statistics on the relational satisfaction because women with higher body counts get divorced at a far higher rate, and it's harder for them to pair bond with their husbands because they've had so many past partners.
So pair bonding research is really not super strong, right? This idea of oxytocin being released and stuff like that. The pair bonding is quite weak, evidentially. It's just increasingly becoming an unpopular theory around sex and sexual bonding, right? It seems like intimacy and closeness over time predicts closeness rather than these sort of things. I guess to kind of speak to the shame piece more directly, being Christian as well, there is immeasurable amounts of sexual shame in the church. So guilt, when you're talking about repentance, guilt drives behavioral change. Shame doesn't. Shame drives lying and closing down and not talking to others. If you look at
That's actually a very good point. I take back what I said earlier about the shame thing. Guilt is a better word for it.
Rates, for example, of vaginismus. If you guys don't know what that is, it's when sex and any form of penetration is exceptionally painful for a woman. It is 3 times higher in religious groups. As a woman, I'm married for 8 years. I only have a body count of 1. Came from a very Christian background. my Christian background and the tying of sexual shame that was there was so hard on my marriage. And in fact, if you talk to a lot of religious women, they're gonna tell you this, right? A lot of my friends, for example, say, my virginity was so tied to my value that when I lost it to my husband, I thought I was dirty, right? Look at the rates of orgasm amongst religious married women. So shame in general, when it comes to sexuality, seems mostly just to lead to worse outcomes. There can be conversations about impulsivity, right? About choosing who your partner is more wisely. I'm actually open to those conversations. The issue is that when we shame people for their body count, it's disproportionately women, right? If you look at these, and I agree that you're consistent, it's both for you. Look at these red pill podcasts. All they want to do is get their body count up and shame women for giving them that body count, right? This leads to worse relationships.
What is a high body count? I'm curious. What's the number? What's the number?
I don't think it's
I'm
necessarily
curious.
a number. I think it's more so the idea of sleeping around for no reason and not having
Well, there's definitely a
any
reason.
commitment.
I know, right?
Sure. And I would actually agree with the shame part in religion. I think purity culture can be very dangerous. It's seen as more of a sin than anything else, and it's very damaging to women. And we see this even in marriages, like you said, women still think sex is a sin in their marriage. I think that's a problem. So I think it's not so much I don't think we need to bring back shame to women. I think it's more so that being sexual and being promiscuous shouldn't be celebrated as much in our culture as it is.
Sure, but the prompt was specifically, is it more shameful, right? And you guys said, yes. That is necessarily bringing more shame to women for this. That's necessarily doing the thing you're opposed to.
Okay, well, I mean, I have a yes or no. So I'm not going to say no because I don't think that being sexually promiscuous is good for anyone. So that's why I said. That wasn't the prompt.
Okay. So I wanna chime in here and say that I grew up in a very conservative religion that shamed you for any type of sex outside of marriage. What did that lead to? What did shaming people about body count lead to in that kind of religious situation? People lied about it. Here's the natural truth about humans. All of us have sex, even when we pretend we don't have sex. We are all still having sex. I don't care if it's the 1950s or it's 2025. Every person is having sex. That's just the reality of it. Some people want to have sex less than others. Some people want to have sex more than others. And none of that is about who they are morally as a person. I am a person who happens to consider myself to be hypersexual. It's just part of who I am. It's always been part of who I am. And when I was 14, growing up...
I actually disagree
Can I
with
disagree
this.
real quick?
Okay, yeah, we both disagree. I just want to say real quick, I think that the kind of relationships that you have, the sexual encounters you have, the way that you approach your sexuality says a lot about you as a person. Actually, I'm very, very passionate about this. The number one, or not number one, but it's up there. It's up there in the rankings. One of the top things that will disgust me about a person, it doesn't matter if it's a man, it doesn't matter if it's a woman, I don't really care about those things. The top thing that's going to disgust me is a lack of sexual discipline. If you are just overly vulgar, you have wandering eyes, you always comment on like anyone that you find attractive, you're always seeking to evaluate people by looks, you're just overtly sexual, you have no discipline in the sexual relationships that you have, automatically disgusted. Yeah, I think that says a lot about you as a person. It says a lot about your impulse control. I think it says a lot about, the things that you value, whether or not you're considering being virtuous, living a good life, whether you're being intentional about your relationships. No, it says so much about you. But anyways, if you want, Haji, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just think like the idea they're saying like they're gonna lie now, that it's shameful and stuff like that. You can say that for almost anything ever. Like, yeah, if you shame pedophiles, or pedophiles are more less likely to come out in public and say they're pedophiles. But if it's shameful, then the amount of people that do pedophile like actions is going to go down in society over time, right? It's still going to be like lower than if it's obviously neutral or praised. So I think this idea of people lying, like now because people are going to lie, therefore shaming is bad. I don't even think that's a good argument. And also, I don't know where evidence is that people in religious communities are still having intercourse to the same extent as people outside of religious communities. I don't think that's true. You'd have to provide me like, what's it called? Not only anecdotal evidence, but like actual stats to back that up. I don't like intuitively. It seems like super wrong. Like, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that's true?
I mean, in my experience, I don't think that they have. I think it depends on what you consider to be religious. If you take anyone who just like says I believe in God to be like religious. Like, okay, like I know plenty of people on my college campus who would identify with some kind of like religious affiliation, but they're not practicing in any capacity, right? And they, you know, engage in a lot of things, right? So I think it depends, like, on what we consider to be religious. Are we taking a certain kind of how the extent to which you practice that religion? If we're talking about people that are genuinely practicing, no. I intuitively no. Like, just from the people that I've engaged with, right? And then also I just haven't seen any statistics on that. I'm not sure where she got that from. But if we're talking about people who just like to, you know, culturally associate with that, they just like to label themselves with religious identities, although they don't really practice them just because they grew up within them, I could see where that's coming from. But yeah, with practicing people, no.
Growing up in a very religious church that told me that who I was as a person was bad, that was really harmful for me as a person. I was depressed as a child. I was on antidepressants. I thought something was broken in myself. And when I finally left that religion and the shackles of the shame that had been placed on me by the patriarchy in that religion, I realized there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just this type of person. And here's the deal. People who like to have sex with a lot of people, we like to date other people who like to have sex with a lot of people. And people who don't like to have sex with a lot of people should date people who don't have sex with a lot of people.
That's actually, that's very true. That's very true. I can appreciate that at the very least. Like, oftentimes men who have a lot of experience want women who have also, like, just a bit of experience at the very least. Like, I've heard men who have, like, lots of bodies and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, I don't want a woman who's a virgin because I don't want to deal with someone who's inexperienced and doesn't know what they're doing. Does that make it morally right? Should you do that? No, I don't think so, but I do appreciate at the very least that there are people who are consistent.
And it doesn't say anything about who they are as a person or their value as a human being or how good they are or how bad they are.
Okay, I agree. It doesn't take away your intrinsic value as a person. I agree with that.
It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just a bodily function that most people end up doing. And that's how I feel about sex, sexuality. And if you want to get your freak on, get it on. And if you don't, keep it locked up in a chastity cage. I literally don't care. But it doesn't mean anything about you morally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think a lot of people are using their personal experiences to define their reality. So you say, like,
bro,
you
so are you.
Told you don't do this, so obviously you're going to do the exact opposite.
That's not why I am who I am.
But I'm just saying.
I just like getting freaky.
Sure, there could be a middle ground there, though. Like, I think having multiple sex partners, like loosely having sex with different men, not only is it dangerous because you can catch STDs, this is why you guys are having abortions, this is why, you know, you're not desired. It's a lot of things that is happening.
I mean, I would say the amount of sex partners I have would indicate I am desired. I mean, that seems like
are you getting?
What is this lady's obsession with the male gaze? I just want to know. I just want to know. Like, her metric for truth and what you ought to do and what is morally right and, you know, what is good, what is the good life, what is a good character, is based off of what men find to be sexually appealing. Girl, there are men who desire children. Why are you treating the male gaze as if it's something to be, you know, pedestalized? Oh my God, we should all seek to, you know, fit within the male gaze. I want to be desired by men. Plenty of men out there are hedonistic. They're disgusting. Likewise, women as well. Like, it's just a human being thing, right? A lot of people are hedonistic. They're disgusting. They have desires that are honestly morally objectionable and problematic, and they shouldn't have those kinds of inclinations, right? Like, this is not a good thing to be focusing on, like, oh, men want me because I fit within their little gaze, their little fetishized gaze.
But you also just said men
but men value women that they marry, not women that they have sex with. So women that they have sex with is usually just a throwaway.
But again, men who like to have sex like to be with women who like to have sex. So they actually just partner together. Like, that's the reality.
I would disagree.
They just partner together.
I just personally feel like you guys probably don't ever listen to men. Men like women with a low body count. You could just listen to them and they'll tell you this out of their mouth. You don't have to go looking for this.
But again, this is the conversation. The men I like to date are like me, and they like to have lots of partners because we are good in bed and we're experienced.
But you guys are always
and those men want to have a woman who they own their virginity.
You're
Great,
always
you can have
speaking
them.
for the exception and not the rule, though. Why do you guys in all of your arguments today, you represented the exception and not the rule?
I'm asking why do men prefer women with lower body counts? Is it just innate,
because
or is
these
there
are
a
the
reason?
women that have to bear their
Because
children.
ignorance is bliss, and they don't want to be
These are the women
compared.
that have to bear their children.
Oh, you guys seem to have a problem a little bit with men, like just comments that you're making, but yet you.
I have no problem with men. I'm straight.
What is
I've just heard like multiple just negative comments about men. Like
You
that's
do
a
realize
Oh my god, 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 oh my god. She's the fucking female version of a white knight. We need to find a word for like white knight but feminized version, like for a woman. What is the equivalent to that? White princess?
White
Nah.
Like this is oh my god, holy white knight.
Are responsible for 90% of the violent crime.
But you're sleeping with many of them.
Yeah,
so
but
do you
we
like?
still, we still love men.
90% of the violent crime, that still does not represent all men. That still would be the
Exactly. That's my
minority
point, though, is
of
that
men.
it doesn't
So
represent
men
all
are
men. None of
awesome.
us
Men
are
are great. They
against-
protect you just like they
We're not
assault
anti-men.
women. They protect women.
What am I listening to? What is this? Is she okay? This person on the far right has to actually be the most absurd. She's mocking them for, like, she starts talking about, they're raping me. And then she's talking about the same way that men assault you, they also protect you. Are we okay? What is this
I think she's being,
mindset?
like contrarian at this point to like whatever. They say.
Genuinely, go to therapy. What am I listening to?
Women, they fight wars so you don't have to.
Other men. They protect you from generally another man. So enough with that.
Okay, that is protecting whom?
But I'm saying
Everybody's
I'm not against men.
Okay, but
You
they're
literally
doing
just
it
put
to
words in my
protect
mouth
their.
saying, "Oh, I'm anti-man." I'm not.
I didn't
I'm
say you were
straight.
anti-man.
I f- men. A lot of them.
I didn't say you
No,
were
I'm serious.
anti-man.
I'm
pretty
so
sure
tired
that
of
we
feminists
all
being labeled
love
as
men.
anti-man. We're not. In fact, I think feminists help men because we're trying to relieve a little bit of pressure off of them. Like,
But they're
I'm
not asking
anti-man.
for that. They would rather you just respect them. They would just rather respect. They don't care about none
Just
of the
because we
things
don't
you have
worship
to
men
offer.
doesn't mean that we don't like them. I don't put them on a pedestal. I don't treat them like they're princes.
they
I'm
shouldn't
not
be
like,
on a
oh, what
pedestal.
great,
They
amazing dudes.
are
I
awesome.
like men just fine. Unfortunately, they're princes.
shouldn't
I'm not
be
like,
on a
oh, what
pedestal.
great, amazing
they
dudes.
are
I like men just
I
fine.
like how
I'm
Kai was just
unfortunately-
sitting this one out. She's like, I don't know this well. Like,
I'm done. Sorry, I'm eating a cracker. I skimmed through it. They literally just start screaming at each other at the end. It's so funny.
Unfortunately straight too.
Question on this side, for especially for those of you who love men, right?
Right.
What can you tell me
This moderator is she's so snarky. She's not impartial at all.
some things you love about men?
Yeah, some of them have great sense of humor. Some of them are super helpful and funny. And I mean, I like men the same reasons I like women. These are all just human traits. You're funny, you're smart, you're good looking, you take care of me.
This is actually something I don't know if I talked about this in the last slide, but I'm going to talk about it in my upcoming YouTube video where like I talk about men are not wallets, women aren't prizes. I talk about the red pill, I talk about the pink pill, whatever. And one thing I bring up is like this idea of like a quote unquote high value man or like a high value woman. What makes someone like a good woman or a good man? Fundamentally, we're both human beings, and that's what determines our moral value and our moral purpose and so forth. There's no real like, I guess, significant distinction between men and women for me to be like, okay, this is what makes a good man and this is what makes a good woman. Because the same things that I would say make a good man are also the same things that make a good woman. So therefore, it's just about what makes someone a good person. However, what I think people typically tend to get mixed up is that when they are referring to a good woman or a good man or a high value woman or a high value man, they're not actually referring to like, well, in the case of these traditional people, they probably are, but they're not actually referring to traits that they believe to be intrinsic to women, right, or to men. They're actually just referring to stylized forms of being a good person, right? Like there's no such thing as like a high value man, right? Like there's nothing specific about men that would thereby like make a particular feature about them more valuable, right? Like it's just something about being a person. Like the same things, the good traits that men can exhibit, the honorable traits that men can exhibit, women can also exhibit. So it's just about being a good person. It's not really. Anyways, I'm yapping.
I have girlfriends like that. I'm not by side.
But we're not talking about
friends
yeah,
or girls.
we're talking because you said that a lot of people think feminists hate men. I want to know, without talking about women,
Okay.
only talking about men, what do you like about men? About their uniqueness of being, I'm asking the men lovers.
See, I guess I'm trying to think about what makes men unique.
She just answered your question. I don't know why she's being so like condescending and pedantic. She answered your question. it's just about being a good person. It's about fundamentally what makes someone a good person. It's not about being a man. It's not about being a woman. Your genitalia, right, doesn't determine whether or not you're a good person, right? Again, when we talk about these things, what truly exists is merely just a good person with stylized forms of expression. So we can have like feminine or masculine forms of expression associated with being a good person, and that is what we typically consider to be a high value male or a high value female, right? But that's all it is at the end of the day. Fundamentally, what is good for you as a person is generally the same for both men and women.
Unique though, because like when I like a man, they're funny, they're smart, they're good looking. But I could describe a woman with these terms.
Okay, so you don't think that there are things about men that are unique necessarily?
Well, I mean, I'm born straight, so I can't say like I choose to be attracted to men. Like this is how I was born. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I can't tell you what that's about, but I can say that I like men because they're funny, they're smart. Some of them, they can protect me if I need to sometimes. Like I understand why you like men, but I think you can all understand that they have traits that are not good, right? Like you have men you don't like, right? You know that not all men are great.
Of course. And I want to know what you like about men too, without PG.
PG, right. So I would say a lot of my good friends are men. I think men are smart and funny, just like she was saying. I think that I'm sexually attracted to men. I think they're pretty much the exact same as women. But if I were choosing like to hang out with someone one-on-one, I'd probably pick a woman because I'd probably be safer because they probably wouldn't be trying to, I don't know, have sex with me as an ulterior motive.
So it sounds like a lot of...
But I mean, I just don't see men as like a special category that they need to be worshipped in some separate way. Like, oh, men are really the reason why I'm here. I think the reason why I'm here is women.
Yeah, I kind of agree with this. Like, I think it's weird to like pedestalize genders, like men or women. And to be clear, I think gender is something essential. I don't think it's something social, although it is typically defined within some societies with like some kind of social respect. But yeah, I think when you pedestalize them in this way and you try to frame it as if men have these individual qualities, this is when we start getting into the issue of like making gender something like purely a social construct, like masculinity, like attributing things to men that have nothing to do with being a man, right? Like attributing anger and like aggression and, you know, whatever it may be with being manly and masculine, in spite of the fact that like that has nothing fundamentally to do with you as a male, right? Like that has nothing to do with it. What makes you a man are your essential features, right? These biological features, and it doesn't go beyond that. Anything beyond that is like stylized expression, it's personality, it's what makes you a person, it's your mind and so forth. These are different things.
Women, I tend to worship women more than men.
But don't you know that men allow you to have your rights? Because if it really came down to it, they can just overpower you and take all of your rights.
Actually, I have rights because of women. I have rights because women
You have
who
rights
came
because
before
of
me.
men.
No, I have rights because of women.
No,
I'm here because of women.
Okay, and if they declare war on you because of your rights, what happens? You all die.
Okay, you're having a hypothetical conversation about something that hasn't happened. I'm having a real conversation about the fact that the reason
And
why...
by the way, wait, real quick, like her logic, using forced doctrine, saying that like men hold all the monopoly on power, therefore like the woman needs to listen to the man. If you say that about like races and stuff like that, it gets like incredibly like complicated. Are you gonna say that like black slaves need to like, I guess like pander to like the white slave masters, right? How does that work? Does that mean that white people are not better than black people? No, obviously not.
Yeah.
So like the reasoning is very, it's like a slippery slope. And in order to justify their position, they have to special plead for gender or for sex, which obviously is fallacious.
Yeah.
So.
Good point.
Why I'm able to vote is not because of men, but because of hard-working women.
And who allowed it?
A few good
Who
men.
allowed these things to
Imagine if you replace man and woman with black and white. They get canceled like in 2 seconds by both sides of the political spectrum.
Imagine someone trying to argue with, you know, the women on this side who are black themselves. Like 4 out of the 5 women here are black, right? Or they're some kind of ethnic minority. Imagine someone coming to you and being like, oh, well, who gave you your rights? It was white people, right? White men, right? Like, that's so crazy.
Not a few. A lot of good men. A lot of good men. Why do you think there are no...
Look at this girl in the... Oh my god, she's pissing me off. Look at her giggling.
Women civilizations, because men will take them
She
down.
thinks she's eating. She thinks her friend on this side is eating.
Class, then men are also pedophiles and rapists and criminals, by your logic. You realize that, right?
Yes, but guess what? That is the minority of them.
I would say men are not rapists. Some men who are
The
bad
minority,
do
you
bad
heard
things.
the minority. Most men are
we're
not
because
criminals.
I am not treating gender like a class.
Right.
I understand that police officers and soldiers are more often men, but that doesn't mean that men who are not those things suddenly get to be like, actually, I'm doing forced doctrine too. No, you've got a small group of young men who are given fiat authority by a bunch of state men to enact rights that all of us agreed on. That's how democracy works. If you want to treat gender like a class, then you have to say men are soldiers and men are rapists. And I think this is not true. Some men are rapists and some men are soldiers.
Well, it just sounds like, I mean, like, so if a man tells you to do something, you're going to do it. Do you, I mean, are you a woman
if
who
he's
falls
my
in
husband,
line?
absolutely. Yes, I
If he's your
serve him.
husband.
I'm here to
If you said if he's your husband. Yeah, that makes sense. But let's talk about just some random ass man.
If a random man just asked me to do something.
That's what I'm saying. Like you
something
just a
like
minute
what?
ago
Like
said, like,
what?
oh, men, if they could come in and just do this, like they can take our rights from us. It's like, yeah, that's why we're here.
But
We're
that's
here
just
to
to
make sure
show
that
you
doesn't
that
happen.
men are not your
But you
enemy.
make it sound
That's
like
all
I'm supposed
saying.
to fall in line.
But you guys are, everything you're saying is because of the men, because of the patriarchy.
That's not what patriarchy
men
doesn't refer to men.
are not your
refers to a system.
enemy.
Yeah, no,
They're not-
patriarchy is a system.
I know, but I'm
Okay.
saying, I said because of the patriarchy. Men are not your enemy, is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that if men didn't want you to have rights, you wouldn't have them. That's what I'm telling you.
So they could be pieces of shit. Like,
Men are not your enemy, but if they want to exert power over you, that is morally wrong, they can. Okay.
That just proves that
so
they're not
what?
pieces of shit because you have rights.
But how long have we had
all men are
rights?
pieces
How
of
long
shit.
have we had them? How long?
I can say the same thing about black people.
About
I'm not over here
105
complaining
years we've
about
had
being
them.
black in America.
14 countries out of 190 countries, women actually have rights. And what those rights are, there's like a whole chart out of the, but only 14. Like if you go anywhere else in the world, your rights can be taken away just because of the body you have. And like we're very grateful to be in this country where we do have rights, but we've only had them for 105 years. We have to defend those rights against the bad men that are openly talking about repealing the 19th and like women should stay in the kitchen. Like it's not all men. I have great men in my life. I love them. I just hung out with one of them last night and it's like they're so caring. I do love men. I just don't love all men. I hate abusive men. And good men know that when we're talking about them.
Can I ask one question? What would it take for you guys to no longer be feminism, to say, feminists, to say, hey, we have all equal rights now, we have everything we need. When does the movement stop? Because it seems like it never stops.
It's not going to stop because they now have already overturned Roe v. Wade. We've seen a right that we fought for and won taken back, so now we have to come back to the fight.
They overturned it to give it to the states, which means the people within those states can vote on how they want to do things.
Well, then it's not a right. If it can be stopped at an invisible line, then it's not a right anymore.
It was
And that's
never
why we're
supposed
here
to be
fighting
there
for
in
those
the
rights.
first place. It's not in the Constitution. It was never supposed to be there in the first place.
I don't know why
Neither
people
was the
act as
women's
if the
right to vote.
Constitution is like some sort of like gospel, as if like it can never be changed. Like that's why we have 27 amendments. Like you amend the Constitution. Like the Constitution was not against slavery, then we amended it. We changed it, right? Like after 13 colonies, like 12 of 13 colonies had slavery in their constitutions after they amended it, right? So I'm saying like their argument right here is saying like, oh, it wasn't the Constitution was not supposed to give abortion rights. It's like okay, but then now we like time has progressed, right? Time has moved on, and now we want to make sure that abortion is federally protected. And obviously, I mean, there's some advocates that say that we should put it in the Constitution as well. So like this argument, like I know it's just stupid. It's like yeah, amendments for a reason. So
Yeah, you know what?
Vote or anything else. Like,
I personally, very controversial, I don't think women should vote. Because we get women like this that say all of these crazy things.
You don't vote then, right?
Oh
No,
my
I
God.
do vote.
Why? Lead by example. This is what I'm saying. You're all here using
Lead
your
by
voice to tell me that
example.
you don't want one.
I have to combat women like you, so I have to vote.
No, you're
I have to
using
vote,
your
'cause you
voice
guys
to
are
tell me you
always
don't
on
want
the
a
wrong
voice,
side
so
of
go
issues.
home.
That's why men are more logical, because you guys are always on the wrong side of issues. That's what it is. You don't even know why you're doing the things that you're doing.
Wait, so women are always on the wrong side of issues. That means you're also on the wrong side of issues.
You just do things,
Look, what-
and then
I
you blame
just-
it.
let me tell you, let me tell this, like, I'm going to say this right now, and I hope this gets on camera, and let me say this. Being on the side of a woman's right to vote is never the wrong side of an issue. Every person here is a human being. Voting is a human right. I won't sit here and have a conversation about repealing human rights and pretend that that's a normal conversation to be having. Women deserve.
I'm gonna be frank here. I'm just gonna say this and then we can wrap the video up because they're tweaking out now. All of them are tweaking. But if you want to make the concession that gender is a symmetry breaker when it comes to personhood and when it comes to your right as a legal person, right? That it now changes whether or not you can vote just because you're a woman or because you're a man, right? If you believe that and you make that concession, you now also have to start bringing in the conversation of things like race, right? Things like ethnicity, right? Because we do believe that there is some kind of biological reality to ethnicity and race, primarily, right? And so if you're going to bring in things like gender, then now it opens the ground for us to bring in things like race and ethnicity and ask, okay, can we repeal, for example, the right for, ethnic Americans to vote? Should we only leave the right to vote to white men, right? What is how far are you going to take it, right? Like, I don't understand this argument. Women shouldn't have the right to vote. Why? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. They're so weird. But anyways, that's all we're gonna watch because I'm kind of over this. But I also have to go to a dinner. But I want to go through the comments real quick because I wasn't reading them. The sad thing is that there are actual philosophically strong arguments for conservatism and having gendered hierarchies in society outside of appealing to religion. They just never talk about them. I would be interested as to which arguments you've heard. I think that's Shantian, yeah.
Yeah, if they're not going to ground it in religion, you have to ground it in stats, like saying that or like biology or science, and right, it's obviously not.
Not even stats.
So far,
some kind of like objective, some kind of objective reality, right? I mean, not objective reality, objective morality, right? You have to create a moral framework that you believe is objective and exists independent of the mind within our universe, right? In order for that to be like, yeah, it's just very difficult for you to make that argument. I don't necessarily, and I agree with you in the sense that there are good arguments for gendered hierarchies. That I agree with. Conservatism, I don't know. I'm not really, I don't like to like comment on politics because I'm not really that well-read or literate when it comes to politics. But when it comes to gendered hierarchies, they're definitely, I cannot speak today. When it comes to gendered hierarchies, there are definitely good arguments for them. Like, for example, I don't personally have a contention with patriarchy in of itself, right? If we're just talking about men leading or men taking, I guess, more leadership positions, I don't find that to be intrinsically wrong, right? I only think it's wrong when it's that men taking those positions also involves the moral devaluation of women. For example, men are in office more because they believe women are less competent, right? Or, like, for example, like, men are only allowed to be teachers and women are only allowed to be students because men are inherently more logical, this and that, therefore they have more personhood, they can occupy more positions of power, whereas women can only be students because they are inherently inferior. This is the moral devaluation of women. Now, if it's just like, oh, we tend to have men in teacher positions because they tend to be better teachers and we tend to have women in these positions, or they're just prescriptions that we place within society because it works better, right? Or for whatever reason, it's not because of moral devaluation, then I don't think that there's an issue with it. The same way I wouldn't think that the inverse is a problem, right? I don't think that there's an issue with a society being matriarchal, right? There have been matriarchal societies. They tend to be more egalitarian, and that's how these societies should work. They were female-led, but they were far more egalitarian. So there is a possibility of there existing a patriarchy that is, male-led predominantly, but is still more egalitarian. We can definitely have that. But let me see what else. Someone with past relationships tend to carry baggage. They complain about their exes. The same thing applies to men. I think both genders should be paid equally from the start until they can prove they can do a better job and then they can get promoted. That's fair. I asked you privately what would they do if the law could not see or... Oh, okay. A lot of women don't want the 19th Amendment because of military drafts. There's evolutionary-based arguments. I think the evolutionary-based arguments are pretty weak. I I don't like when people try to make biological or evolutionary arguments for why men should dominate, because, how do I say this? Like, it's just evolutionarily, like, you really have to grasp at straws, and you have to really misrepresent the science to do that, in my opinion. And human societies are very variable. Sexuality is very variable. The way that our systems work is very variable. And it's largely dependent on resource availability more than it is dependent on sex in itself, right? So, like, for example, like the sexual dynamics that prehistoric societies and ancient societies used to exhibit, like, take, for example, hunter-gatherer societies, this was typically based on agriculture and resource availability, and that is what formed their, I guess, the structures within their civilizations, or the gendered structures or roles in their civilizations, right? It wasn't necessarily, you know, within their biology. Like social evolution. There's not a lot of mainstream literature on conservatism separate from religion, so I've had friends in poli-sci and professors recommend reading arguments. I definitely need to get more into politics, but this whole video was emotional arguments and the moderator didn't help. Yeah, I know, ridiculous video. I feel like I just like watched it again for the rage bait, but anyways, guys. Sorry that I'm a little stuffy, and then I was like stuttering a bit. I'm super tired. I woke up like 12 hours ago for some exam that I had. But thank you guys oh my god, I genuinely can't speak. Thank you to those that did join the live today, and also thanks for Haji for joining me last minute. But I do have to go to a dinner, so I'm gonna end this abruptly. But thank you guys for joining. I keep saying this. It's just taken a while to edit. I have an editor, but it's turning out super good, so the product will be worth the wait. But I do have a video coming out soon, and make sure we're watching my videos so I can get the watch hours. I appreciate it, but that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for joining.